Well, the Eagles got the win, but it wasn't pretty and kind of one you'd want to spit out of your mouth and try again. Still, though, there were several positives to mention, like Jihaad Campbell's debut, the D-line finding something extra in reserve, and the 1-2 connection living up to the hype. Although yes, there's still plenty to improve on. Meanwhile, Howie Roseman added a pass rusher, the Chiefs got some devastating friendly fire, and the Week 2 matchup is beginning to look a whole lot different. So let's talk about that and everything else you may have missed from the Birds opener. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Thursday night was just weird, which I guess you could kind of argue happens quite a bit in the NFL in Week 1. Except to the extreme of what took place in Philly on banner night went slightly beyond that, as you had the Eagles racking up the most penalty yards they'd had in over a calendar year, Adoree Jackson seemingly getting benched before halftime, and A.J. Brown all but being shut out up until less than 2 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, can't say I had that one on my bingo card before the game. Although, to be fair, Jalen Carter getting ejected before even playing a single snap probably took the cake. I mean, the defense looked flat out lost without the bread man for most of the night, or at least for the first half, as Dallas scored points on all 4 possessions to start the game. In fact, it got so bad at one point the Eagles fans on social media began making comparisons to the 2023 Philly defense for just how easy it was for the Cowboys offense to move down the field, going so far to suggest that it might be better odds of winning the lottery than getting a stop on third down.
I mean, you have a better chance of being struck by lightning 42 times.
It is crazy when you think about it, because before the 1-hour weather delay with the lightning playing a factor there, the Eagles had only gotten 1 stop on third down. Of course, Mother Nature threw off both teams since they both combined to score on their first 8 drives, yet then Philly and Dallas combined to score on none of their next 8. Somehow miraculously cashing it in for people who took the under and thought they had no chance. I said it after the game during the live stream, and I was not surprised to see this on social media either, but I said before, I was like, look, there's going to be people that are going to say this, we won, but we're not happy about it. Although remember, to point this out and to hopefully raise the spirits, as we only do on this channel, every time the Eagles win, the game recap video will be giving away 2 Eagles tickets to any game of your choice. That's right, every single win I'm doing this. So, obviously the Eagles won. Make sure to drop a like on this video and then leave a comment, any takeaway you had from the game, and you're automatically entered to win those 2 Eagles tickets. Again, the weather put a damper on opening night, yet there were all kinds of surprises Thursday night. You know, like seeing rookie Andrew Mukuba get the start over Sidney Brown against Dallas, despite Jeff McClain and other beat writers reporting that Sidney Brown and Adoree Jackson, for that matter, were far and away the lead candidates for their respective roles to start.
Missed it by that much.
To be fair, I was saying the exact same thing. I think most of us were, that, look, with Mukuba coming off the hamstring injury, it didn't seem like he was going to start or certainly play very many snaps. However, the part that we can all agree on is the wish that beat writers had been wrong about the Adoree Jackson news and him starting. Because my gosh, I'm not sure if the dude could have had a worse performance in any game, much less a debut. With the 29-year-old allowing 5 catches on 7 targets, by the way, each one was a first down, 103 total yards allowed, another one of those targets being dropped by a wide-open receiver, and 1 pass interference that led to a touchdown score. I mean, you saw it, I don't have to tell you, and those numbers speak for themselves, but it was atrocious. Yet when asked after the game, Adoree somewhat amazingly gave himself a passing grade.
I give myself a C.
Okay, so that's how it's gonna be. Y'all want to play.
Room for improvement, things that I did well, things that I can correct and get better at for the next week. So I'm not going to hang my head or hang it too high or too low at the end of the day, regardless if I play good or I didn't. You know, it's always things that I can find to get better at and do better at. So yeah, I give myself like a C. C's good degrees, but I give my, because we won, so I give myself a C.
Bro, if that performance was a C, then 2023 James Bradberry was a Pro Bowler. Come on, we've all come to the conclusion now that his C performance was clearly standing for cut. Like, honestly, I don't know how Vic Fangio can't consider other options after that type of outing Adoree had. For the record, I get it that Jakorian Bennett didn't play much better, allowing 3 catches for 20 yards in very limited snaps Thursday night. Plus, yes, he did get a pass interference called on him as well. Yet the fact that Bennett only got 2 weeks or even less than that of camp has to come into play here. Which is why I'll stick to what I've been saying all along. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when Jakorian Bennett gets out there and gets more snaps to say he's the starter at cornerback 2. And honestly, whether or not Vic Fangio trusts Bennett yet, he may not have the luxury of waiting with how bad Jackson played. Or heck, I realize this doesn't give anyone a lot of certainty, but after what we just saw, there's no way Keely Ringo could have been worse. Look, maybe Bennett wouldn't be a significant upgrade, but he's tough, he's physical, he plays with a little bit more passion, he doesn't give away just crazy separation, and he's got a whole lot of speed, so personally, I'd at least like to see him get a chance. After all, it's one thing to get beat, but another thing entirely to be miles off the ball and just giving the defense whatever they want like Adoree Jackson does.
I'm spitting angry!
Okay, here we go. The spit seen round the world. What Jalen Carter did was totally uncalled for. Of course, we can debate who started it and the retaliation aspect for Dak Prescott, yet ultimately, the bread man let his coaches down, the fans down, and his teammates down. Plus, like we saw, this is not even close to the same team without Jalen Carter anchoring the middle. For instance, in 4 games with JC against Dallas the last 2 seasons, Dallas has only had 1 rushing touchdown. However, all it took was less than 2 quarters without Carter Thursday night for the Cowboys to double up that number. Now look, I know seeing some shakiness, especially with the run defense on Thursday, not the most reassuring, but at the same time, look, Jalen Carter, he is what Chris Jones is for Kansas City, if not more so for the Eagles. Which is why I've maintained this, but I'm not too worried about the defense, and they also made another move, and I'll get into that here in a bit. Also, getting back to Carter and Dak's antics, it's a moot point by now, but the NFL had sent in a message to officials before the season saying they wanted them to crack down on more unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. And while I have no problem with JC getting the boot for what he did, the 15-yard penalty of taunting to Nolan Smith after making a great play to stop Dallas's run was total crap. Especially when you compare that to a straight-up clothesline that didn't get called. So yeah, you can start to understand the thinking of some people suggesting perhaps this was the NFL getting back at the Eagles for keeping their least favorite play in the league a little longer. I mean, it's football for crying out loud, so if you want to stick it to the NFL and are tired of putting up with their crap, then you need to check out the sponsor of today's video, Dude Wipes. Because shout out to them, they are not only an official channel sponsor, but they're also the proud official sponsor of the Tush Push. And just like the Eagles, when it comes to the B-hole, they know a thing or two about moving piles. Look, dry toilet paper just smears. It's like calling a quarterback sneak on 4th and 30. It makes 0 sense. That's why real ones roll with Dude Wipes. I mean, these aren't baby wipes playing small ball. They're extra large, extra wet, and built to handle big league business. After all, wetter cleans better, meaning you don't have to worry about any irritation or leftover debris. But don't worry, Dude Wipes has a trick play for anything number 2 throws at you. For example, when the heat gets turned up, they got formulas like Shea Butter, Mint Chill, or even the limited edition Dumpkin Spice. And with them being flushable, 100% plant-based natural fibers and made in the USA, this is a play that always works. Plus, they've got big packs for home, travel packs for the grind, and single on-the-go wipes that even fit in your wallet. Meaning, wherever you go, you're game day ready. Look, don't fumble the ball with dry toilet paper. Protect your end zone with Dude Wipes. So go ahead, make the trade of the season and switch to Dude Wipes. Just click the link in the description or scan the QR code to get the official sponsor of the Tush Push in your house. They're also available on Amazon and retailers nationwide. By the way, not sure if you realized this, but Jalen Carter was not the first time an Eagles player had been thrown out in an opener. Sent shout out to Ruben Frank, but he reminded that Jeremiah Trotter Sr. actually got thrown out in 2005 at the Georgia Dome versus the Atlanta Falcons. That coming after getting into a fight with cornerback Kevin Mathis during warm-ups. Again, neither instance was called for, yet for people acting like JC's by himself for an idiotic, immature act before an important game is not exactly accurate. I'll reiterate though, the bread man got what he deserved by getting kicked out. I just think at the same time we can forget sometimes that emotions run high enough for even a guy like Trot back in the day to be a 28-year-old, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, and still get himself kicked out of a game like Jalen did. Okay, fine, he didn't spin on him, but he still got himself kicked out. Meanwhile, JC's only 24, and you can tell based on the extra info of the situation that he had his first meeting with Tyler Booker circled.
I probably spit 1,000 times throughout the game. I mean, especially game day, maybe even in general, and something I guess I'm not proud of. But in that case, he was trolling, I guess you could say, trying to mess with Tyler Booker. I was just looking at him. I was right here by the 2 linemen, and guess I needed to spit, and I wasn't going to spit on my lineman, and I just spit ahead, but I would say he was back there where Jory was in that sense, and he asked, or he goes, "You trying to spit on me?" And at that point, I mean, I felt like he was insulting me. Like I wouldn't spit on somebody. I'm damn sure not trying to spit on you. Like we're about to play a game. I'm wondering why you're trying to mess with the rookie. And so when I stepped through, I actually say the words like, "What the hell would I? Excuse me, but I'm probably even more colorful. What would I need to spit on you for?" And he just spit on me in that moment, and it was more of a surprise than anything. Refs obviously saw it through the flag. I was like, hell yeah, we get 15 yards to start the game off. Didn't realize he was getting ejected. Unfortunate that he did. Hell of a player. Changed our plan and our blocking scheme. As I've told you all right before the week, that we're going to protect against him. So helped in that manner. But I don't wish for anybody to get out of the game. I'm sure he probably regrets that to some extent. I'm pretty sure he knows I didn't try to spit on him or wasn't even aiming to spit on him. So something that's probably going to get a lot of coverage and a lot of attention that feel sorry for him in the sense of, yeah, I mean, I know how excited each and every one of us are, right, to kick off the season and the season opener, and hell of a player like that doesn't even get a chance in the first play.
I love how Dak acts like, for one, it's completely normal for someone to spit 1,000 times, but also that he was not in the wrong, except remember, the internet is undefeated, and there's always a camera watching. So to see what actually took place and then to see the reaction from Dak after his spit, let's just say Prescott knew exactly what he was doing. Either way, though, the good news on the impact of this is that Nick Sirianni said the team will discipline Carter, and that'll be done in-house. Along with NFL insider Ian Rappaport sharing that the league is very unlikely to suspend Carter for the spit altercation on Thursday night. Plus, the case was made that he kind of already served a suspension in one way because he didn't play a single snap in the opener. Also, just from a historical standpoint, the NFL has only fined players for similar incidents, like Terrell Owens in 2006 for spitting on D'Angelo Hall and Bill Romanowski for spitting on J.J. Stokes in 1997. All that being said, though, I'm with Brandon, who quipped Philly getting the win without Jalen Carter and barely any help from A.J. Brown seems like a positive sign. And honestly, the biggest positive from this situation is JC's going to learn from this experience.
You know, it was a mistake that happened on my side, and you know, it just won't happen again. So I feel bad for just my teammates and the fans out there. You know, I'm doing it for them. You know, I'm doing it for my family also. But the fans, you know, they show the most love. You heard them out there today. You know, just not being able to start the game, even finish the game is just up. But we're gonna get it better. It won't happen again. I can make that promise.
Again, was it the prettiest? No. Absolutely. Not even close. But how many times are we sitting here talking about this, or at least you're reflecting on a week one situation and saying, yeah, there's rust. It wasn't that great. It certainly wasn't firing on all cylinders. Like, I get the sentiment that it felt like 2023's opener, and there's definitely some question marks. Yet I would caution you to not judge too much by what you see in September. Because for those keeping track, this has kind of been par for the course for Sirianni teams in openers. Again, call it rust, call it whatever you want. But in 22, the Eagles beat the Lions in Detroit by a score of 38-35. And then in 2023, it was the sloppy game in New England that they still won 25-20. Or heck, even last year in Brazil, beating Green Bay by 5 still came down to the final possession. Yet somehow they find ways to win, and there's no denying that Thursday night was one of those contribution over credit type games.
Bringing it back to just finding ways to win, that's what it comes down to. It doesn't matter how it looks. Doesn't matter how it goes. It's just about finding ways to win. And in this league, it's very challenging, especially in these first games. They tend to come down to the wire, especially when there's not a lot of ball on tape. And so I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of everybody weathering the different adversities that came our way today. And it's always good to get a win.
It's funny how Hurts played well enough to get Vegas to actually bump him up 2 spots. He's vaulted over 2 players in terms of the NFL MVP odds. Yet then you have other national talking heads that are criticizing him to say, oh, he didn't throw for 200 yards. It was 150 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, everything else there. It's just completely ridiculous in terms of the double standard you have. Now, I know, it's the same old story every time. Hurts doesn't play the game the way people want, but when you dig into the numbers, QB1 just does what it takes to win and shows up in big-time moments. Like on third downs on Thursday night, Jalen was a perfect 6 of 6 for 78 yards and a 118.8 rating, along with 7 more carries for 32 yards and a touchdown on 13 tries. Of course, sure, you could make the case that a lot of those plays were very vanilla and it was short throws, except the Cowboys played zone on 100% of the Eagles' dropbacks on Thursday. And no, that is not a mistake. 100% of the time, Dallas was in zone. And still, Jalen had a 56% success rate, which kudos to Hayden Winks for the research, and I'll fill you in on this, but that would have been good for the number 1 spot last year among all quarterbacks against zone. So kind of hard to fault him for playing conservatively.
I got to say, I'm impressed. Yeah, I got to rethink this whole thing.
At the same time, I'm not going to act like we're in midseason form because, for one, that's a lie. We're not even close to that. But also, it's not like we have to expect to be there yet. Come on, this was Kevin Patullo's first game as offensive coordinator. And to his credit, the first 4 possessions resulted in points. Plus, you wonder if the offense hadn't been cooled off by the hour-long weather delay if things hadn't kept up in that same direction. Yet while winning is the only thing that matters, it was nice to see A.J. Brown at least not get blanked. I mean, it's crazy even saying that. But the more you watch the film, Dallas made it a conscious effort to bracket AJ and keep two guys shaded his way at all times. Now, did Jalen miss him, or could he have been a little bit more aggressive trying to fit the ball to AJ? Possibly, but it's also why you gotta be a little careful watching or seeing these analytics sites for the research and info. Because one will tell you AJ didn't have a single yard of separation Thursday night, and another one will say QB1 had 10 to 12 opportunities to throw it AJ's way and didn't. Regardless, though, there's one thing I can guarantee you. You can bet the group is going to get things figured out by the time they take on Kansas City. Because AO is still money and made a crucial catch to set up the game-clinching run from Jalen.
Great job by him staying patient and in the big moment, right, making a play. Most important play of the game in my eyes, and then we're able to get ourselves in a position to convert that third down and wind down the clock. So, great play by him.
That's something I can't control. What I can control is my effort and the ball do come my way.
I'll say it like I have before. A.J. Brown is the last guy on the roster I'm worried about. Sure, 1 target, 1 catch, 8 yards. Of course he'd be a little frustrated. But let's not forget that he was dealing with a hamstring injury that kept him out most of camp. So another week to get things right and for Kevin Patullo to get a little more aggressive, there's no reason for concerns.
I think it was good. I think there's going to be things we want to do and want to talk over and kind of trust our instinct with certain things. So first games, like I said, there's so much unknown, but you got to be able to be not on the reactive side of things, more so, proactive and being able to play smart ball and put yourself in advantageous positions. And so happy for him to come out here and get his first win as an offensive coordinator. I know he's waited a long time for this opportunity, and we just want to keep building. I know we're all hungry for that.
Also, just continuing on here, I got asked a couple times from different people what I thought of Kevin Patullo's debut, and I think it was fine. Like I said, it was a good first half and even got the game clincher late by going with an empty look. In fact, taking some wisdom from Kellen Moore previously to use presentation of one look to set up something later. Like when the Eagles motioned out to go empty and then allowed Jalen Hurts to pick up the first down with his legs and ice the game. I mean, you watch it back, but it was pretty clear that Dallas expected the pass and was caught out. However, where the fair criticism comes in was with the answers or non-answers for the blitz. Seriously, the Cowboys will see the tape and realize they should have blitzed a lot more than they did. Especially because the first 3 times they did blitz, the Eagles had no answer for it. And maybe worse than that, with Dallas playing all zone coverage in the entire game, Philly decided to run a mesh concept designed to beat man coverage in 3rd and 11. Or when it comes to the ground game, like Eric also pointed out, in the second half, the Birds practically invited Dallas to play 8 or 9-man boxes by coming out in heavy condensed formations. Which combined that with Landon Dickerson being banged up and having to go out in the second half, and no wonder the running game virtually disappeared. Although for the positives on offense, I tried to say it as many times as I possibly could. Keep an eye out for Jahan Dotson this year.
With the full offseason to get acclimated and a full training camp, how much of a difference do you think that plays a factor?
Oh my gosh. You have no idea.
With time, now shot downfield, and it is brought in by Jahan Dotson.
He ran a great route, showed and had an opportunity to make a play, and I don't know that he even saw the ball. But he did a great job of tracking it very late. Great connection there.
How about Jahan Dotson coming and making some huge plays today? A huge 3rd down catch that equaled points on a 3rd and really long, a 51-yard gain, another one on a scramble. I get it. You want to ask a lot of the negatives, but man, there was some positives too. And Jahan, that is such a huge ability to have when you have the other guys that they're keying on, and then Jahan comes in and makes the plays that he does. Again, I know the story will be AJ only got 1 target until the 4th quarter, but how about Jahan Dotson? He played a heck of a game.
Honestly, his 3 catches for 59 yards don't even tell the full story. For instance, the blocking that he showed on multiple occasions really helped set up runs in the first half, especially when he knocked Dallas linebacker Kenneth Murray off his horse on Will Shipley's catch and run. Although the best thing might have been Dotson filling in as the punt returner so that Cooper DeJean didn't have to play that role. Because despite those resulting in just 2 fair catches from J-Dot, it allowed Vic Fangio to breathe better knowing his defender was not back there.
That's a relief.
I referenced it earlier, but as bad as the defense was in the first half, you have to give them some credit because they returned to Fangio form after halftime, going so far to pitch a shutout while also only allowing 127 yards. I mean, listen to this. 16 first downs on their first 4 drives, but then 5 on their next 4. Like I say, give them some credit. They eventually figured it out, which is kind of a lot of what we saw last season. Also, credit to Michael Daniel for correctly predicting Javonte Williams to score and then winning the drawing out of 6 other subscribers who picked him as the first touchdown scorer. And by doing so, Michael won 2 tickets to the Eagles game of his choice. Reminder, just another reason to hit that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Just go down there, hit subscribe, turn the notifications on. Got a lot of crazy stuff planned, including lots of other ridiculous giveaways. Plus, for any breaking news that happens, you guys know we're going live to get you the latest info and everything else there as well. Like the recent signing of veteran edge rusher Zadarius Smith, for example. And yes, to clarify, Smith was the guy I was referencing from the video a few days ago when I said I'd been told a deal was done but just waiting to officially announce the player. Not gonna lie, but I'm hyped about this move. Like, I get it that he turns 33 in a couple days, but this guy had 9 sacks last season with the Lions and is also a 3-time Pro Bowler. So to add a veteran presence like Smith who can rotate in from time to time and be that older guy in the D-line room is bigger than some people realize. Heck, we're talking about a guy who had the 7th best pressure rate in the NFL last season, so there's definitely something still left in the tank. Of course, I should share that while the first report was the deal being 1 year for upwards of $9 million, later info revealed that it's actually just $4.25 million for a base salary and then up to $4 more million in incentives for a total maximum package of $8.25 million. Which I'll say again, very solid depth addition, and no, to answer questions that I've gotten continually, my source cannot confirm that there's any movement or anything happening for cornerback.
This is the worst!
Look, I guess you never know, but give Jakorian Bennett some time. After all, the first half from the D-line wasn't that great, but the second half drastically improved. And kudos to Jordan Davis and Moro Ojomo because they each played 50 defensive snaps, which for the record was the first time since 2016 that the Eagles had 2 defensive tackles play over 85% of the snaps in a game. Really, that's the point I was trying to make during the stream. Moro Ojomo is still going to be a beast this season. For people that are punting on it or saying, hey, he played terrible, this was not expected. Jalen Carter is going to take the double teams. That's why Moro Ojomo is going to end up playing so well. So I'm not giving up on that. And also, you're not asking Ojomo to play 90% of snaps in any game, hopefully the rest of the season. Still, if you're handing out game balls for the defense, JD would have to be up there with 6 tackles, 2 pressures, 1 batted pass, and 1 tackle for loss. Now, yeah, obviously it would have been nice to see him come up with a sack, but it's JD's performance that got Zack Baun's attention.
Jordan's been working his ass off to get to where he's at. He should be very proud of himself, and I hope he knows that the work he put in wasn't for nothing, and I thought he did a really good job. And then Moro, stepping in and stepping up, he did a good job as well.
By the way, shout out to Byron Young as well, because in no way was he expecting to play 22 snaps, but he definitely flashed at times. Just like Josh Uche, who actually graded out as the best pass rusher of the entire night. Heck, the dude was playing like it was 2022 and already put together the best defensive performance that number 0 has seen in the Midnight Green. Thanks to 4 pressures, which led the team, and a 44% pass rush win rate, which naturally, yes, also led the team. Oh, I should also point out that that was in just 19 snaps.
Didn't see that coming.
That's fair, although Lane did mention Uche's name back at camp as a guy to keep an eye out for. However, it wasn't quite the same level of hype that we'd gotten for a guy like Jihaad Campbell. So the fact that the rookie ended up as the highest graded defender on Thursday night out of either team is flat out insane. Again, another reminder here, but 30 teams passed on this dude. But sure, we already knew he'd be a beast, yet I can't help but get a kick out of seeing the national reaction to what we saw coming. Like NFL analyst Dan Casey admitting, I don't think people realize how schematically significant Jihaad Campbell is. Meaning, if the rookie can close the middle of the field in Tampa 2, then Zack Baun can be the wall player with eyes on the quarterback and play with instincts. Which, is 100% what he does best. Therefore, despite the cornerback spot needing to play better, Jihaad just proved to Fangio that he has way more coverage options in his arsenal to go with. Look, I realize not everyone may fully comprehend the film breakdowns and different nuances there, but basically, you got all the analysts coming away from it saying Fangio has too much power and it's a freak show stuff from the Eagles linebacker room.
Let's watch Jihaad Campbell, last night's star defensive player for the Eagles. Here, Schoonover goes in motion to join Brevin Spann Ford. And right here, Dak is going to take a hole shot to number 89, Spann Ford. And there's Jihaad Campbell getting on his horse. Like he's going to go down there and show his speed right here as he makes this play down the field. I mean, it's a great shot by Dak. And then the celebration between Baun and Campbell. That combination is just dynamic. Because here's the biggest play of the game. Third quarter, Cowboys driving, 1st and 10 at the 12. Here's Jihaad Campbell, right? The Eagles love to go to this 6-man front when they feel like they need to stop the run. Zack Baun is the diamond linebacker right there. Now watch Jihaad Campbell. come. Like here comes Miles Sanders, who got the Cowboys down in a position. They're losing 24-20, and they're going in to score when right here Campbell gets the ball out. He gets the ball out, and Quinion picks it up. And then lightning struck, literally lightning struck, and we sat and watched for the next 45 minutes as everybody left the field. That was the biggest play of the game. Jihaad Campbell getting the ball out of Miles Sanders' hands into the arms of Quinion Mitchell.
We definitely building, man. We're going to keep building, keep getting better.
New year, same Zack Baun. All right, so play of the game, game-winning play. Look where Baun is when the play starts. He's outside the opposite hash. Ball gets handed off and just watch him run. Run, run, get through, run, 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 run. Try to punch it out, no. Now get the tackle. If he doesn't make the tackle, Sanders scores. I want everyone to see it again.
What is
New year, same Baun.
What is the most
Look at the ground that he covers. Dude, look at the ground he covers. Is anybody on the field running faster than him? Again? This is exactly who he was last year, and this is why it matters. Then you go to a couple plays later, and it leads to this. Because if he doesn't make that tackle, this play never happens. And the end score could be different.
It's really like an embarrassment of riches in the linebacker room for Philly. Again, areas to work on outside of that, but this defense is going to get it together with Jakorian Bennett. Also, as for the game, I saw some comments saying the Eagles got lucky or we're the ones that were fortunate because of CeeDee Lamb's drops. And okay, fine, he should have caught a couple of those passes. Yet if we're going to play the hypothetical game, then Q and others also had their fair share of opportunities and weren't able to hang on. Ultimately, I'll bring it back full circle. The Eagles had fewer yards than Dallas, more penalties than Dallas, and were worse on third down, but they didn't turn the ball over, and they got the win. Which, like ESP pointed out, the Birds are now 28-1 since 2022 when they win the turnover battle. So relax, the team is getting better, they will get better, and it's only up from here against Kansas City, who also looked very suspect against the Chargers on Friday night, by the way. Plus, some unfortunate friendly fire to wide receiver Xavier Worthy means the Chiefs will now be without Worthy and Rashee Rice for the Monday night matchup next week. So I don't know, maybe even if it is Adoree Jackson, Philly will be all right. However, as for the injury updates, Landon Dickerson suffered a back injury on that run by A.J. Dillon, but the speculation is that it shouldn't be anything too long-term even if he does have to miss a game. Granted, this is also where the mini-bye comes into play, the fact that you play so early and you kind of get almost like a week and a half rest, so hopefully it ends up doing him some good. Although for Ben Van Sumeren, it wasn't so fortunate as it was confirmed that he suffered a torn patella and is out for the rest of the season. Which obviously, yes, really hate to see that, especially with the Birds suggesting they'd use a whole lot more fullback. Albeit they still can, and actually they did choose to continue to do that in the game. It's just now Kylan Granson, the tight end 3, is presumably the fullback from here on out. Also keeping with the ground game, Will Shipley suffered a rib injury in the game, so we'll keep you up to date on how quickly he's able to get back to practice the next couple days. Meanwhile, on special teams, got to give major props to Jake Elliott and Braden Mann. First, because it was nice to see Jake Elliott make a 58-yard field goal after going 1 for 7 from 50 and out last year. And then for Mann, he had 2 punts in the final minutes that flipped the field and went out at the 18 and the 11-yard line, which sometimes gets overlooked, but it's so clutch to have him helping to set up the defense and, the defense just capitalizing on that, so it's really a combination for both of them. Anyway, as always, appreciate you guys. Make sure to drop a like on the video. You guys let me know your thoughts. Everything. Whatever else that I missed, the good, the bad, the ugly. Birds are 1-0. Football is back. This has been the Philly Special.
Like I should feel